you know what it is? I talk to the audience like I talk to my friends, and people inherently will be shocked by that, some people. But I just think that to talk to the audience conversationally is better than putting on an act.
In my opinion, stand-up comedy is the truest art form there is. No special effects, no studio enhancement, no filter. Just the artist and their audience. Live. It's in this environment where Bill Hicks carved his reputation. He never actually became a household name in his native U.S. and only achieved moderate success in the UK. It could be argued that his material was just too ahead of its time. He wasn't ever going to be a generic funny man, someone who hosts a late-night talk show, star in a family sitcom, or endorse Coca-Cola. He was a rebel. A moral and spiritual crusader. A voice for Generation X. And since his death in 1994, his legacy has only grown. So let's dig a little deeper. Believe it or not, Hicks first started performing stand-up aged 15 when he would sneak out of his parents' house at night. So even from a young age, he was rebellious by nature.
We're open house night. Open house night. Your parents go up and talk to your teachers, find out you've been lying through your teeth. His name is Bill? Your problem is Maltvis. Come home the next night, my father's sitting there and he goes, "Hold it, Moat Vic." I went up to school last night and I talked to your teachers and I talked to Miss Jones and she said you called her a frothing slug. What is that all about? Oh, Dad, she's a loser. Everyone's a loser, everyone's a jerk. Tell me, Mr. Blister, who's the real loser? I promise you won't get mad, Dad.
And it was this maverick attitude that later led him to performing material that was considered controversial by some audiences. You have to understand, this was 1980s America. The age of conservatism. Cable news. Televangelists. And wars. Lots and lots of wars. Mainstream comedians didn't want to go anywhere near these topics. They were happy making a living churning out jokes about airplane food and dating and doing impressions. Bill Hicks wanted to tackle these subjects head-on. Strange as it seems now, back then it was taboo for a comedian to make jokes about religion and politics and question whether America should be going to war or not. Because if you did, you'd be labeled with a very dirty word. Unpatriotic. But this is stand-up comedy after all. You can't just talk politics. You have to be funny. And Hicks was a master at writing clever punchlines, no matter the topic, and no matter the audience. This is Bill on religion.
It's curious, man. The guy goes, "I hate Jews." And I said, "Why, man?" He goes, "Because they killed my God." He believed that, man. Shit. If I believed the Jews killed God, I'd worship the Jews, man. Shit, there's some badasses on that team, man. God.
Bill Hicks on drugs.
That's what I hate about the war on drugs. I'll be honest with you. It's what I can't stand is all day long we see those commercials. Here's your brain on drugs. Just say no. Why do you think they call it dope? And then the next commercial is this bud's for you. Come on, everybody. Let's be hypocritical bastards. It's okay to drink your drug. We meant those other drugs. Those untaxed drugs. Those are the ones that are bad for you.
Bill Hicks on smoking.
And yes, I miss them. It is hard to quit smoking. Every one of them looks real good to me right now. Every cigarette looks like it was made by God, rolled by Jesus, and moistened shut with Claudia Schiffer's right now.
Bill Hicks on war.
You know, he armed Iraq. I wondered about that, too. You know, during the Persian Gulf War, those intelligence reports would come out. Iraq, incredible weapons. Incredible weapons. How do you know that? Well... we looked at the receipt. But as soon as that check clears, we're going in.
He would intentionally examine what people held sacred, flip it on its head, and question why we should hold it sacred in the first place. And he would do this while making you laugh out loud. No easy trick. In 1993, Hicks was diagnosed with terminal cancer, which he kept a secret from all but his closest friends and family. Even still, he dedicated himself even more, releasing 2 of his best comedy albums, Arizona Bay and Rant in E minor. Both highly recommended. Perhaps the most infamous milestone of his career was in October of the same year, when he recorded a set for the David Letterman show. Hicks was at his peak creatively, and felt that it was his best performance. But the set was later cut from the broadcast, as Letterman and his producers were concerned about offending viewers and sponsors over the religious content. Hicks was devastated.
Unless I've forgotten. But I haven't this one because it was recently on the David Letterman show on October 9th that I did the show, taped the show at 5:30 in New York, and then at 7 p.m. was called by the producer and told that I would be excised completely from the show. I, of course, asked why. The material had been approved and reapproved by the producers. And they said that CBS had deemed the material, these are quotation marks, unsuitable for the viewing public. But actually, what happened was I did some material about the pro-life people. And the joke I did was very simple. All I said was, if you're so pro-life, do me a favor, don't lock arms and block medical clinics. Lock arms and block cemeteries. Let's see how committed you are to this premise. It could even be construed as pro-life if you wanted to make that argument. Yep. Anyway, they counted that as one of the quote-unquote hot points that I touched on. Here's the punchline. Monday night during the Letterman show, a commercial airs for pro-life. So see, we just had a misunderstanding. I thought I lived in the U.S. of A., United States of America.
Right.
And actually we live in the U.S. of A., United States of advertising. Freedom of expression is guaranteed if you've got the money. Okay.
Just for the price.
In 2009, Letterman would air the set in full and make an on-air apology to Mary Hicks, Bill's mother, thus offering some relief for his fans. And you can easily find Bill's unaired set on YouTube, and the material is still relevant to this day. Hicks passed away in 1994 at the age of 32. And on the 10th anniversary of his death, British MP Stephen Pound tabled an early-day motion in the House of Commons, titled Anniversary of the Death of Bill Hicks. This is real, and I'll leave a link to the UK Parliament website in the description below. The motion stated that this House notes with sadness the 10th anniversary of the death of Bill Hicks, on February 26, 1994, at the age of 32, recalls his assertion that his words would be a bullet in the heart of consumerism, capitalism, and the American dream, and mourns the passing of one of the few people who may be mentioned as being worthy of inclusion with Lenny Bruce in any list of unflinching and painfully honest political philosophers. Now, how many comedians do you know would get something like that?